Good afternoon, ladies. Popping on here unannounced. I wanted to share some wisdom with you this Wednesday. I've just literally come from a meetup that I organised in Cambridge. I did one in Norfolk when I was there. What was it? A meetup for women who work from home, because I believe really strongly in the power of connection, and doing things out of your comfort zone. And so I've just come from that, and it just went really well. It went like way better than I thought that it ever could have done. And so I'm really pleased. And whilst beforehand, this morning, I had a kind of flash of hello. I had a flash of inspiration. Just to apologise, because this software that I'm on doesn't tell me who's saying hello. So I am going to try and find you on my phone and see. Oh, hi, it's Liz. I can see. Oh no, and Alex. Sorry, that's me talking to me on my phone. Anyway, so hello, say hello if you're watching. But anyway, I wanted to share this with you because I see so much in women fear and chronic anxiety. And one thing that I realised, and this is quite bizarre to kind of not know this, but I didn't know that I was suffering with chronic anxiety for years and years and years. Hi Liz, hi Paula. I can see I've actually put you on my phone now, and I've turned me off, so I can see that you're there. So if I don't know, anxiety or fear or it doesn't resonate with you, then maybe this video won't be for you. But I just wanted to share my experience because I just didn't know that I had this level of chronic anxiety. I thought I had post-traumatic stress and all that entailed. Now, that can mean very different things for very different people. And for me, that kind of manifested as I had chronic flashbacks and sensitivity to noise, and I couldn't be around people very well. And so in my early 20s, I dealt with that using drugs. And then it kind of petered out. And what I was left with, which I didn't realize, was a really chronic anxiety. But because I was living with it, I didn't realize. And what I was doing was I put loads of things in place, really kind of subconsciously, to keep me safe. Now, those things were kind of based around scheduling and being on time for things and having things in place. So with my father being so ill and the way that he was, I would kind of structure my day around when I would go and see him and what I would feed him. And if that didn't happen for any reason, I would be really worried, really like in my head, worried about it. And then when my son was born, I did exactly the same, only I had separation anxiety and really, really struggled with leaving him at the nursery. And then partly that was one of the many reasons why I ended up leaving my job as an addictions counsellor, because I just couldn't bear to drop him off at morning school and after school club. Anyway, so it's kind of manifested in like my son in that sense. Like if I couldn't pick him up from school on time, I would get really in my head and really worried. And the same thing with my dad, if I couldn't get to him or feed him. So I had real structure. I had to pick up my son at this time. I had to feed him at this time. Same with my dad. And it kind of held me, but I would be constantly worried if I couldn't do these things, really worried. And then as that grew up, and it kind of, those things were still there, But as I got to work with the boot camps and I was getting up really early and out really late and kind of working really long days, I kind of got into my head that I needed to have a sleep at like midday, 1 o'clock. And if I didn't get this kind of power kip, I went into this real panic, real anxiety. I mean, looking back now, I'm surprised nobody said to me, "You are really anxious." And nobody did, but what I did get called was a control freak, and I did get called bossy. Now, being bossy is one thing, and actually, it helped me build a business because I was very bossy and I led groups of women in the park doing exercise, and I was very good at it. But put me in an environment where I'm kind of networking or I'm having to talk to other human beings, not in charge, not in control. I went into my head and I found it very, very, very difficult. And so I would avoid all kind of meetings and people and anything that took me out of what I considered was my comfort zone, my safety net. And after my father died, my feeling, my sense was that the post traumatic stress came back really badly. And so I cut myself off, isolated myself. I couldn't have any radio or TV. I couldn't really read. I couldn't look at the computer. And, I just literally had to sort of put myself into a little hole, a safety hole. And as I've started to come out of that, um, and again, my sense was, oh, okay, so the post traumatic stress is dying down, and not realizing that this anxiety that I've been living with for 20 odd years was still there. But because it was normal to me, I'd normalized it. I didn't realize. So my son come back from Corfu the first time last Christmas. Christmas just gone, the Christmas before. And I was like suddenly thrown into, I've got to make his dinner and I've got to do this and I need to do it by this time. And just really living in this state of worry and panic if these things weren't being done. And I was aware at this point that because I wasn't getting up so early, I no longer needed to have this sleep that I'd created in my mind as being part of my routine. I could feel that I was getting anxious about not having the sleep. I didn't need to sleep in the middle of the day anymore. So that should have been really an insight to me, but it wasn't. And I've carried on all this time and I've done my coach training and I've looked like I'm having this conversation with people about the 3 principles. That's what I'm now trained in. That's what I'm now a mentor on for the coaching course. And this morning, I was talking to my own coach on Monday, and I was saying, I still feel like I have it with my dog. I don't want to leave my dog on its own, and I can't go to the supermarket. And he was like, "Well, why can't you go to the supermarket?" And I was like, "Because I just don't want to leave the dog on its own." And he said something to me, and just said, "Just why don't you just try and go to the supermarket?" So I went to the supermarket, but I didn't leave the dog on its own. I left the dog with my son. But whilst I was away, so I sort of lied to my coach and said, I went to the supermarket. And he said, "Yay, well done. I'm really proud of you." Now, I looked at that afterwards and I thought, I'm nearly 47. Not that that's got anything to do with it, but if you just took that text message and you didn't know the context of it, I'm saying, I went to the supermarket and someone's going, "Yay, well done, I'm really proud of you." You'd think, that's odd. And so I looked at it and I thought, this is odd. What am I doing? And it suddenly occurred to me that when I got the puppy, I had been creating my anxiety around, I have to walk her in the morning, I have to walk her in the afternoon, I have to do it when it's light, I can't leave her on her own, so I can't go out, I can't go to the supermarket, I don't want to leave her in the car. And I'd recreated the kind of safety net, if you like, when I looked after my dad, of all these self-imposed rules around the dog. And have been a prisoner to my dog. Now, I'm admitting this to you because one of the things that I've been noticing is how, with my anxiety, firstly, that I've had it chronically for many, many years and used different coping strategies, but one of those being control, others being food, exercise, alcohol. But what I've really noticed is that I was putting these self imposed rules on myself. It was in my head, it was thought driven, completely thought driven. And if I just see through that illusion of it has to be this way and that's my reality, has to be this way, and if it isn't this way, then it makes me feel unsafe and then I'm going to have a panic attack. And because I don't want a panic attack, I need these things in place. I've just kind of created that in my mind to keep me safe. These are self imposed, familiar rules that I've created in my head. And it's partly because I think after my brother died and my father, after that accident, I needed to feel safe. I needed to feel like I was okay. And that anxiety kind of anchored me, it grounded me. And for 24 years, it's been familiar to me. And over the last 18 months, I've been exploring something different, a new paradigm of the way that us as human beings work. And that was the one thing that I couldn't see. Like, I can see other things like this, like I've let go of, my need and addictive thoughts to alcohol and food and exercise, and but I still had certain things in place, and it kind of blew up this morning, and I just saw through this illusion that I've been creating it myself. And I can't tell you how much freer I feel today. It's like a huge weight has been lifted off of me. And when I realized that this morning, I actually felt quite emotional about it, because I think when we see how we have been creating our own experience, it's just like you stepping out of this self imposed cage. And it wasn't keeping me safe. It was familiar and I knew it well. But what keeps me safe is my inner resilience and my inner wisdom and the connection I have with other people and life as it moves through me. And I was trying to fix it. I was trying to fix this anxiety, but just not realize, actually being in denial about how I was creating that anxiety, because I thought that if the dog wasn't walked, it would really affect me. I've even, honestly, people have put plates back in the wrong place in the cupboards in my house, and I've gone mad. Like, that plate's in the wrong place. And this is all just in my own head, right? Thought created in my own head. So the reason I wanted to share this with you is because, like, insight is having a sight from within. So I want to share this with you. I want to create a forum where we can talk about this, and I want to share what's made sense to me in the hope that it can help you guys free yourself from self-imposed cages. So as I said last week when I was talking about anxiety, I want to create a course, a beta test for a course. And I'd love to see who's interested. But essentially, I'll keep sharing on this group, and I think had I not seen that this morning, I would have gone to this meetup, which I've organised because I'm really good at organising events, but I'm also really good at staying on the sidelines and not really getting involved because I thought I was too anxious. I went along this morning having had that insight and felt quite emotional about it. And I didn't have any anxious thinking about it. I didn't have any thoughts about how I was going to communicate with anyone and would I be good enough and what if I've got nothing to say? And all this thought generated movie playing out prior to the event was used to cause me to be very worried and anxious. And for some reason this morning, it just occurred to me that, oh my God, you've been doing this to yourself. And so I went along this morning to this meetup here in Cambridge, and it was fine. And of course, connecting with women is always amazing. I don't just have to be hiding behind a screen. And anyway, I just wanted to share that with you because it's so interesting to me about human beings and how we create our own experience moment to moment to moment. And I hope you keep listening, and I hope there was something in this maybe that resonated with you. And if you're interested in hearing more about it, then I will be creating a course, but it's just kind of, I'm following my wisdom now. I think I mentioned that in my courage talk that was just randomly. I was just guided to talk to you and create a video about that. So I will download this and put it in the Thursday Thoughts email tomorrow. And if anything resonated with you, please let me know because I love hearing your comments. And I can see that Liz and Alex have written some hearts, and Paula said hi. So thank you, ladies. I'll talk to you soon. And I'm just so honoured that you're here. So thank you. Take care. You are enough. I love you. Bye.